Captain's Vlog, brew date 009. Where the hell are we?
Walk with the rich, walk with the poor. Learn from everyone, that's what love is for. Don't let nobody drag your spirit down. Well, we're walking up the heaven, Lord. Don't let nobody turn you around. Well, I might say things sound strange to you. I might preach the gospel. I believe it's true.
Okay guys, thanks very much for tuning into the Forensics Detailing channel again. Just want to do an update on where we are with our waxes and then go ahead and brew our next wax 009. First off, before we say any of that, a couple of little short updates. One, we hit 1,000 subscribers on the channel week ago, last week I think, which was, I was going to do another video to say thank you to everyone that's subscribed, because that's kind of a little bit mind-blowing. It seems now we've gone above 1,000, it seems to be growing like crazy, so that's fantastic news, really good. Second thing, so that's 1,000 subscriber updates. Oh, the second thing is there is now a Forensics Detailing channel Facebook page, where I'm going to sort of use that as a much quicker and friendlier way just to me to sling a few pictures on there, let you know kind of what's going on during the week. It's a lot harder, more of an effort to cut a video and chop it all together and throw it on YouTube, you know, so it's not suited for me just doing quick updates. So the Forensics Detailing Facebook page will have just more of a general things and pictures, and it's a place you can throw questions at me. It's a user-friendly thing. I mean, we all know about Facebook, so it's there. Right, where are we with our waxes? Okay, so our last batch of wax was Forensic Formula 008. I've been playing around with this quite a lot. I've used up most of this because, like I say, we were getting closer to a workable wax, you know, a workable wax, one that I had a little bit of confidence in, that wasn't half bad, you know, but I was kind of not knowing how good it really is, you know, and for my feeble brain or inexperienced wax brain, I need to bench test this. So in other words, I can put it on a car by itself and think, yeah, this is fantastic, this is the best thing since sliced wax. But unless you really pit it up against something else, you never really know. So what is there to say about this wax first of all? So if you go onto the 008 video and look in the description, you can see the exact formula of how this wax is made up. So one guy that I sent a sample off over in Holland, great bloke, a lot of experience, brews his own wax, you know, has got a good eye for the detail and the differences in waxes. So I've been speaking to him a lot throughout this process, and his opinion on this wax was, you know, great, you know, it works, yeah, it's a functional wax, but I wanted him to pull apart, you know, tell me what can he see that stands out as being wrong with it. Now he could notice that it was solvent heavy, okay, and it is solvent. It's got quite a lot of solvent in this. Once you start going up against 60% by weight, above that threshold, you're probably going too far with the solvent, and I think this is what, about 64 grams solvent roughly, including the d-limonene. So it's quite a lot of solvent, and I noticed that as well. Now, so it's quite soft, not ridiculously so. You know, I think a lot of the commercial grade waxes that are being done by guys doing similar things will be somewhere between maybe 50, as low as 50, and maybe as high as 60% solvent, roughly, depending on what wax blends they're using and what ratio of wax to carriers they're using. Yeah. So when you put this on, it goes on very nice because of that high solvent contents. It's thin is probably the word I would personally use. So it feels nice and thin when it goes on. So that's good in a way. Now what I've noticed is this is quite fast. So actually, before I carry on rambling about this, so when I got myself a sample of this other wax, the Infinity wax, you know, there's a guy who's been doing this, got tons of experience, probably done thousands of brews, you know, knows what he's doing way beyond what I know. So I wanted something of a similar ilk, you know, where someone's brewing it themselves and have come up with this. So I chose this Infinity Wax because they're giving it away, these samples. If you go on eBay and look for Infinity Wax, they're starting them at 99p with £1 delivery. So I think I got this sample for like £2 or something, which was fantastic. Now, this Infinity Wax Light is a Canubra based wax, but it's probably got all sorts of other waxes in it. You know, not too dissimilar to what we're doing here. Wax, solvent, carrier, you know, a blend, and probably, you know, multiple waxes, multiple carriers, multiple solvents probably as well. Now this as well smells of pine oil, and it's got a honey smell to it as well. And I don't know if that's coming naturally off the bee waxes or it's got some other sugary honey kind of scent in it. I thought my one smelled really nice of pine oil. And mine does, it smells of pure pine oil, and it's a nice smell. This smells nicer because of that little rich honey smell to it, which is great. Now this, I'm sure, is less solvent. It's a bit tougher than my wax, it's harder. Now when you lay it down, the first thing I noticed, okay, is this cures stronger and quicker because it's high solvent. So those solvents vape away, but there's a bad consequence, there's a bad knock-on effect with that, that if you allow this to cure and haze, it becomes very, very, very grabby on the microfiber. So this, you want to lay down, leave it for 1 or 2 minutes and buff it off, then it works well. If you leave it longer, okay, the solvent's going, your waxes are getting harder, they're bonding more to the clear coat, but it comes not horrible to take off, but just grabby. You know, when you're grabbing a soft plush microfiber, you're going to pull hair out of it and all that sort of stuff. You know, you're going to pull the material out. You don't want to be doing that. So I think the short consequence of what I'm saying is I'm a little bit solvent heavy, okay? Definitely a little bit solvent heavy. So this one, if you give them the same time to cure, you know, which is between 5 and 10 minutes, my one has become, it's gone hazy and sticky and a pain to come off, whereas this just glides off, you know, almost like it feels like a wax. So the experience of using this was much nicer than using this, unless I'd have tweaked it and gone with a sort of put it on, count to 1 minute, buff it off, then this would have been nice and it would have been easier to apply. This has got a slightly thicker, more waxy feel to it. Now, when you buff it back off and you're looking at the gloss that's left on the car, I found it really difficult to separate the two waxes. They both leave a lovely waxy kind of luster on the car, which is what you want. You know, it gives you that extra thing. The paintwork, the quality of the paintwork is what's giving you your good finish, okay? But the wax just gives you that little bit extra on top of that, and that little bit of shimmer when you're looking down the side of it, and of course all that kind of protective hydrophobic kind of stuff that we all want. So it's not a waste of time waxing your car, it's important, okay? So yeah, in terms of gloss and bringing up all the fleck and that, they both do that because they're both probably roughly carrying the same amount of natural waxes. So yeah, that's the first thing I've learned. I'm solvent heavy, and that is going to leave me a product that's going to vape out quite quickly and leave quite a sticky finish. So I need to be less solvents and perhaps slightly different with the carriers. Now I'm blaming all the stickiness on the carriers because, like I say, if I don't allow the solvent to vape away and to haze up, it comes off nicely. But I'm also, in the back of my mind, I'm still uncertain about lanolin. So I've got quite a lot of lanolin in this. Now lanolin is really nice and glossy, you know, it's like a wool fatty extract, you know, and it's really shiny. But unlike the sort of natural carrier oils, like if you had some olive oil in front of you, you know, that's shiny, but it's also a much more sort of lubrication in that say olive oil as compared to your lanolin, which is, it's got lubrication, but it's a more sticky, greasy thing. And my mind, and you know, I'm having to make kind of judgment calls here that I'm not sure I'm right on, but my mind is thinking that the lanolin, although it might be good for the gloss, you know, although it's probably a workable carrier, I think it could be causing or enhancing the stickiness a little bit. So I'm thinking either ditch it or drop it a little bit, and I'm more inclined at this stage to ditch it. Okay, so yeah, one other feedback I got from the guy in Holland was that the wax, it rained and it left kind of, you know, like when you get the water drying on the car when it runs and you get any water, he was saying that it left some like black lines, I think they call it, like kind of water stains. So maybe as well, he sort of mentioned to me that the paraffin wax is a good wax for kind of water disbursement and hydrophobic kind of stuff, you know. So, and I'm running it, I think it's either 2 or 3%. I think it's 3%. So 3 grams by 100 paraffin wax. I didn't want to go too much higher than that. This is quite a heavy beeswax content in this, but I think I'm going to up my my paraffin wax content. I'm going to keep my montan and my canuba at the same way. I want to keep those quite low. They're quite hard waxes, and I prefer, I think from what I've learnt so far, is I like the beeswax is a hard wax as well, but not as hard I think as the montan or the carnuba. I still can't say that thing. So I think I'm going to stick with my content of carnuba and montan as the same. I am going to up my paraffin by 2% to go, or maybe 1%. I'm going to up it a tiny bit, just try and get some more hydrophobic stuff going on. And I am probably going to sacrifice 1 gram, you know, sacrifice the beeswax for the extra paraffin. So if I drop the beeswax 1, the paraffin up to 1, you know, if I go up 2 on the paraffin wax, down 2 on the beeswax, that's where it's going to come from. I don't want to play around with the montan or the carnuba because I'm happy with that. The other thing, the durability, okay, and the hydrophobic qualities, I actually found that this is, so when you lay them down, it's very difficult to separate them in terms of beading and water sheeting. You've got fresh wax there. Obviously you should wait a while, you know, wait at least an hour for it to cure, or 6 hours, or ideally 24 hours, and check them. So I've been checking at regular intervals, and I check after I've applied as well. So on application, couldn't see any difference between these two waxes in terms of water behaviour and stuff. They're fresh on the car, they've laid out, they've been buffed up, and they're nice and fresh and working really strong. Okay, but I actually found that the water sheeting on this the next day was still quicker. So when you're kind of running the water over them and seeing how fast the water sheets off it, this, for whatever reason, I'm not sure what the reason is, it might be because it's got paraffin in it, paraffin wax, this might not have any in it. This seems to be sheeting the water off the car quicker the next day than this particular product. But in terms of ease of use, what I'm learning is I think I was originally wanting my wax to be put down. I want to see it haze in front of my eyes, and then I want to buff it off. That was my kind of founding principle. But I think with what we're trying to achieve with these waxes, which is a real nice glossy wax, natural wax finish, you know, and protective qualities, it's got to be so important that wax is easy to apply and nice and easy to come off. And like I say, this has the problem that it's quite fast curing and it doesn't come off well once it starts to get tacky. This one doesn't suffer from that, and you can put it down and it just doesn't seem to be hazing up to a hard finish, and that means it's a dream to buff off. It buffs off so nicely, this one. Love the way it buffs off. So much more kind of silkier when you buff it off. And I think that's because it's got probably better carriers and less solvent. I think, I'm having to guess. You know, like I say, the only way I can really quantify the properties in this is comparing it. This is a great wax to kind of try and see how the clever blokes are doing it, you know what I mean? So yeah, I really like this Infinity Wax Light. It's a lovely natural wax. Like, you can go try it for £2 on eBay. Check out the Infinity Wax store. That'll give you a nice benchmark of how someone that knows what they're doing has probably done a lot of brews, you know, what they're delivering. So you've got some sort of idea if you're good or bad, you know. And I think it kind of, you know, this episode hasn't been a kick in the knackers for me. It's just been probably what you'd expect. That this, brew number 8, is not the finished article yet. And it needs to be. You know, we're not doing this for we're not doing this to fail. You know, we've got a long way to go yet, unfortunately, but that's part of the name of the game. If you could brew up something that was better than this in at home with 8 goes, then everybody would be doing this, you know. And the big unknown for me is still with this journey of messing around with these waxes. Is this journey going to lead anywhere? Is it going to give us a product that's actually, you know, not just usable, not just, yeah, it kind of half works, you know, look, it's shiny. You know, I want something that ticks all of the boxes, easy to apply, pleasant to use, not too hard, not too soft, a lovely luster, good protective qualities. So that's where we are. So we've discussed kind of some of the tweaks that we're going to be making to for our next brew 009. But before I do that, this has also been an eye-opener for me that I need to experiment more with carrier oils. Okay guys, so we're just brewing up batch 009. So in this batch we have 5 nuba, 13 B, 2 mont, 4 parafin. We have 3 pine oil, 12 kiwi oil, 59 phase solvent, and 1 d-limonene. So I wanted to just go back to, I'm definitely keeping that small amount of pine oil in there. I think I've got it at a good level. The pine oil is quite a thin kind of oil, but I like it for the fragrance as well. So I think one thing is, I'm sure I'm going to be sticking at around 3 grams per 100 on that. I wanted to go back to doing some more, gaining some more kind of knowledge on the oils, okay? And I've skipped that up till now. I've been changing them every single time. So I wanted to really, I've been doing a fair bit of testing with these oils. So I've got lanolin, almond, jojoba, tamanu, these are some new ones, rosehip oil, kiwi oil, and argan oil, which is one that I'm keen to try out. So I've been playing around with these oils, trying to find out if there's any, you know, the qualities, the characteristics of the oil in terms of gloss, in terms of slip, in terms of viscosity, all that sort of stuff. Trying to find out if I can form any opinion on which one's going to be best. I just need to give this a little stir. This is nearly ready. Let's break that last lump down. And mix these waxes in together. I'll put this carrier oil in. Okay, just let that heat for a bit. Full white, yeah. So yeah, it was very important for me to do some more experimenting with oils, and that's going to be ongoing. So we've upped the oil amount, and we've lowered the solvent amount, and hopefully that's going to give us a wax. So the wax, the 008 was nice and thin and easy to apply, but it's because it's quite solvent heavy and that solvent's vaping out quite quickly, it seems, it will then become quite sticky. And the small amount of carriers, I think, and I think also the presence of that lanolin was making it sticky. This is sticky stuff, this. You know, when its characteristics on its own is sticky, so I think this is causing me some problems. So we'll see. So that's gone out of the equation now. And hopefully the kiwi oil seems nice and slippy. Sort of seems slightly lower than average viscosity. You know, slightly more thinner than an olive oil kind of thing. So yeah, I'm hoping that's going to give us what we need. So I'm going to add the solvents in now, and then we'll get ready to pour some of these. So I'm just going to pause. So you can see there, we've got a good, so that's all the wax and the oil is all mixed up. We've got a good nice black wax there, it's all stirred, it's all blended. Now we're going to put our solvent mix in, so just bear with me, messing around with the camera. I've gone away from putting it in bit by bit. I just find if I overheat the wax slightly, I've tipped this in now, it's still thin, so I'm not going to have to cook it for ages. I think the more you cook this with the solvents in, the more the solvents disappear. So that shouldn't take too long now to get that all back down to that smooth kind of, you know, clear liquid with a slight yellow tinge to it from the oils and the waxes. So yeah, just, I'm standing in the way really, the good bit, aren't I? So yeah, just bear with me. Let's back that up a little bit. Okay, this is pretty poor camera work here, but you know, we're doing all right. So we are getting there. So this isn't, yeah, there's no point really in me sending out tons of samples just yet till we're closer to something that I'm happy with. And I've learnt that, you know, if I can, so I've got some feedback highlighting some of the issues as well, and I could spot the issues as well. So there's no point in me sending out all this feedback, all these samples saying, here's the wax. I know there's a lot of people that just want to have a sort of see of it. Like as always, when you see a wax, you want to have a play around with it. But there's no point in me sending you something where I can spot the issues. I want to send something out to everyone where I'm pretty happy that it's working and there's no obvious issues. And I send it out to everyone. And then if you can spot issues that I haven't spotted, then that's great. I'd much rather, you know, this is the time for spotting issues, isn't it? You don't want it to all be finished and then sort of like, you know, you've got this wax out there you're saying is great, and then people are using it saying, no, it does this all wrong. So anyway, I'm waffling, as always. Right, so this is pretty much ready to pour now. There is just one other thing I want to do as well. Let's just, yeah. I'm experimenting with what the hell is the chemical name for it? What the hell is the chemical name? Polydimethylsiloxane. Polydimethylsiloxane, the correct chemical name for it. That's in a lot of these products. A higher viscosity, a more concentrated version. I'm experimenting with that, and I'm experimenting with glycols as well to give me a sort of lubricative quality. So there's two ingredients. So I'm going to do my main pour, which we can do now. And this pours, you shouldn't really pour it out of this. It's much better if you had another pouring jug. But I can actually pour it out of this without it separating. So this is nice and thin now, like a liquid jelly. Just make sure it's all mixed up properly, so we don't have all that, you know, get a good equal split. And then we're going to pour that in there. There we go. Then we're going to pour one in there. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick some in here as well. Which is good. Okay, it's nice and easy to mess around with this. And then I'm going to go quite slow with this stuff. I'm going to go 3 grams. Okay. Good. Give it a good stir. and that'll do. Let's get these sealed up so they don't all gas away. They're nice and hot. See, that's just one thing I found. If you can get them a bit hotter, probably over 75, you know, well over 75, then they stay more liquid. Okay. Now, if I was pouring big quantities of these, I'd definitely do a staggered pour. But there's only probably about 30 grams there, split 3 ways. So the staggered pour kind of isn't worth it really, especially for these shallow pots. But when it's all nice and loose like this, it just allows you to work it slightly better. I think makes it a bit more friendly, easier to pour. Everything about it seems better. So that's just one little thing that I'm finding. So yeah, heat it beyond. You know, you don't want it to be going into those jars and cooling instantly, because then you get like a little lip of wax as well around there. So I think you get a better pour like that. Oh, shit. Okay guys, so here you can see Forensic Formula 009. The product is now set. Lovely and smooth, this one, but I need to wait for well, probably 24 hours really for it to fully cure, and then we'll test it out. So what I'm hoping is, I think one thing now, guys, I'm almost certain of. Well, I'm pretty much, yeah, lanolin is a no-go for waxes. I think it's too sticky. So I'm hoping this is going to be a lot smoother. I'm hoping it's not going to vape out quite as quickly, and it's going to be a bit easier to remove. So that's my hopes. So yeah, great hopes for 009. And we have this 009 variant here that I need to let cool, that's got some siloxane in it. So I'm interested in boosting the hydrophobic quality of the wax. So interested to see if this is going to work or not, but need to probably start going down that line at some point. So yeah, that's where we are. We'll come back in 24 hours and see how that wax is doing.